As the White House celebrates its latest legislative victories, President Trump is taking additional shots at Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, this time saying housing costs are his fault. For more on this, let's bring in CBS News Money Watch correspondent Kely O'Grady. Good to see you.
Hey.
All right, so what does this post mean? What's the housing market now? What's happening?
Yeah, so he's kind of laying the blame on all of us first-time buyers that can't find a house, that the mortgage rates are too high on Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell. Now, the connection here is that the Federal Reserve sets the benchmark interest rate. That is the short-term interest rate. The housing market deals with mortgage loans, and it's normally the 30-year fix that you're talking about if you're buying a house for the first time. That's a long-term interest rate, though. So if the Federal Reserve were to increase or lower rates, your mortgage rate is not going to increase or decrease by that exact same amount. Instead, the mortgage, the 30-year fixed, it tracks the 10-year Treasury mostly, and that's more of a long-term interest rate. And that moves with where investors think interest rates are going. So the connection here is President Trump is saying, well, if we had someone that was going to be lowering interest rates and investors thought that's where interest rates are going to be going in the future, rather this wait and see approach, then you would have mortgage rates lower and more people would be able to buy a house.
Yeah, it's sort of an easy fix. And I understand what the president is suggesting, but it's sort of not as... It's a little bit more complicated than just
Absolutely.
lowering interest rates because, as you point out, it's tied. Mortgage rates are tied to the bond market. So the other thing that he's doing, he's attacking the Fed chair on the expense of outgoing renovations or ongoing renovations. What is the Fed chair saying about that?
Yeah, so this is essentially the Office of Management and Budget is saying you're way over in terms of your renovations. Federal Chair Powell actually responded in a letter on the website, and he says, look, this was a construction project that was approved back in 2017 before he was actually the chair appointed by President Trump. It was reviewed and approved by the Federal Board of Governors, which are all Senate confirmed, and they even went to this organization that reviews construction back in 2021 that they didn't have to legally, and they got it reviewed. So what Chair Powell is saying is, like, we haven't made any additional things. We're not putting fancy marble or private elevators. This has all gone through the proper process above and beyond. Haven't heard anything back from the president or the Office of Management and Budget, but that's what Chair Powell's saying.
All right. And finally, let me ask you about this thing Tori and I were just talking about, this crypto bill, the first major cryptocurrency bill, which passed yesterday. It's headed to the president's desk. So it's interesting. I think that some people think that crypto is not a real thing, and then there are other people, mostly young people, who think it is. How significant is this?
This is very significant because it really does lend more of a regulatory credibility to it. So this legislation specifically deals with stable coins, which for those at home, a stable coin is a digital currency that is pegged to a particular thing like gold or a currency. 99% of the stable coins out there are actually pegged to the US dollar. So you can sort of think of it that way. And stablecoin, it has less ebbs and flows as Bitcoin, right? We have seen these very big wild swings. What this particular act does is ensures that if you create a stablecoin and I buy stablecoin from you or a bank or whatever, they actually have the reserves, the currency that is pegged to, in order to actually give that stable coin validity. Because if I say, well, I want to cash in my stable coin and you don't have the dollars to actually give back to me, well, that's a problem. I lose all my money. So that's part of this legislation. But just more broadly, the fact that Congress is in a bipartisan way saying cryptocurrency, we actually want to figure this out and make it credible for Americans, it's a big deal.
It isn't a big deal. So are you, Kely O'Grady. Good to have you here on the studio Friday afternoon. Thank you very much, as always, my friend.